The NBA is back next week, man. This is my I know I've said this before, but basketball is my favorite sport. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not. Guess I am. I like the way they dribble up and down the. Okay. I'm sorry. I had to do it. But basketball is my favorite sport, and I love basketball. I love every aspect of basketball. I love the winning. I love the losing. I love watching NBA. I love watching college. I love watching the WNBA. I love watching sports. I love watching the basketball. And this year, to me, is going to be so exciting for the NBA because of all the movement, because of all the player transactions. It is going to be exciting. And not just that, with these movements, with these teams making these situations or making these decisions with players, it brings on narratives and it brings on interesting plot lines and storylines for a season. I think that's one of the beauties that the NBA does better than NFL. I think that they run on storylines and run on plot lines better than the NFL. Don't get me wrong, a lot of people still think the NFL is king, and I'm not going to debate that. But what I'm saying is, when we go for story, when we go for action, when we go for drama, hell, people tune into the NBA just to see the TNT crew. You know, Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Ernie Johnson, Kenny the Jet Smith. People tune into the NBA Thursdays just to watch them. Like that's where we're at, and I'm just excited. Now I'm gonna save my entire, storylines. I'm gonna save my breakdowns. I'm gonna save who I think is going to, my season predictions. I'm gonna save that for Wednesday, which of course is the first day of the NBA season. Damn, Wednesday's gonna be a long ass episode. Now I think about it, cause you got, me breaking down the games that we saw on Sunday and Monday, and you have me breaking down the NBA. Well, we'll see. But I'm gonna wait until Wednesday. What I'm gonna do today is just give my top 10 teams in the NBA going into the season. I think that it was harder, to do. It was harder around the 9-10 spot than the 1-2 range. And again, I'm not going to go into great detail about every team. I might save that to Wednesday. I'm just going to give my top 10 and a brief synopsis of why I think they're in the top 10. At number 10, let me first start by saying that number 10 was difficult because there's a lot of teams that I can honestly see could and probably should be in my top 10. Like, spoiler alert, the Knicks aren't in my top 10. I think that the Knicks had one of their best seasons they had last year. I think Jalen Brunson is incredible, and I think Jalen Brunson is important to this team. I'm kind of on I've been on the Julius Randle is the best player on the team train for a while now, but after what I saw last year, I'm starting to think that that's Jalen Brunson. They got Josh Hart. They have Dante DiVincenzo. They pretty much got back the Villanova Wildcats. I think that they're going to be very good this year, especially with the East, at least the lower half of the East being weaker than the top. I think they're going to be better, but they didn't make my top 10. Neither did the Cleveland Cavaliers. I am not sold on the Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland backcourt. I do like them. And I do think that Donovan Mitchell was much better than I thought he was as far as an offensive weapon in Cleveland. But it still goes back to the playoff success and the lack of playoff success when it comes to Donovan Mitchell. I just need to see more. And Darius Garland, he kind of disappeared in the playoffs. They didn't make my top 10. The team, I will say this, the team that was the hardest, and I kept double dutching between putting them in my 10 spot and not, is the Oklahoma City Thunder. I am very high on the Oklahoma City Thunder this year. You get Chet Holmgren. You have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was All-NBA first team last year. You have the Jalen's. You have Josh Giddey. This is a very young team, but it's a very young team that, to me, exceeded expectations last year and kind of sped up that clock for this team. I don't think that they're going to be world beat. I don't even think they're going to be a championship caliber team, but I do think that we're going to see a great, fun team in the Oklahoma City Thunder. They just didn't make my top 10 because they're still young, and I need to see what Chet Holmgren looks like playing, like in an actual NBA game, not just in the preseason, even though he did look good in the preseason. I just have to wait to see, but I do think that they have all the potential to be a incredible team this year. That's the Oklahoma City Thunder. So let me talk about my teams that did make my top 10. All of these teams, I do think you can make a case could or could not be championship caliber teams. We'll talk about it. Let's first start with number 10. I have the Dallas Mavericks. Now, I need to see what this team looks like at the trade deadline. I don't think that this team is good enough to win a championship, obviously because of their defensive inefficiencies. And when I still don't know if Kyrie Irving can play alongside Luka Doncic for an entire season. That is the main thing I'm looking at. I know they have Derek Lively from Duke. He kind of gives them a JaVale McGee vibe, which they desperately need someone that can defend the rim, because Christian Wood really wasn't it, even though he's good offensively. You know what I'm saying? But I want to see the pairing, and I need to see how Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic play alongside each other for an entire season. And this team obviously has to make the playoffs because they didn't make the playoffs last year. I could be obviously wrong because I was also double dutching. Here's another spoiler alert. The 76ers aren't on this list because of the situation that's going on with, you know what? I feel bad now. Because now I think about it, I probably want to switch it up. I'm switching up right on camera. Yeah. Number 10, I can't do that because I like Luka Doncic. I like Kyrie Irving. But there's a lot of question marks about this Mavericks team that, at least last year, they weren't that good. And that is, of course, their defense. And you're expecting a lot from a rookie in Derek Lively to be the rim protector that Christian Wood couldn't. So I got to make it audible. I'm sorry, guys. I appreciate y'all for sticking with me. Number 10, I got to do the 76ers. The reason why I initially left them off the top 10 is because of this whole James Harden situation. I don't know how this is going to end. I think James Harden, it's in his best interest to probably play and try to build your stock up. I don't know if he's going to do that or not, because I know Ramona Shelburne was pretty much saying like what he's doing now with the not reporting and everything, that's just the beginning. Again, I don't know what I know what his end game wants to be. I don't know what it's going to look like for this team. I know that you have the reigning MVP in Joel Embiid. Tyrese Maxey, he's been good. We're looking for him to make that step up. You still have Tobias Harris. I think that they're going to be okay. I think they're going to be good. And yes, I'm going to take the Mavericks out of my 10 and slide the 76ers there because at least I know that Joel Embiid is but his health. Joel Embiid. I'm not going to overthink this. Number 10, I have the 76ers. The 76ers is at number 10. That's my number 10. I'm not going to leave the reigning MVP off of a top 10 NBA teams list. So I have the 76ers number 10. Number 9, I have the Kings. Last year, I'm banking on last year was more of the norm at this point than an anomaly. The Kings are one of the best teams in the league. They were one of the best. Actually, they were the number one offense, I believe. When you have De'Aaron Fox and you have Domantas Sabonis, King and Murray hitting threes, you have the Red Rocket going crazy. Malik Monk. I just think that last year, one of the biggest reasons why they didn't beat the Golden State Warriors in round one of the playoffs is just because of experience. and because they don't play much defense. I'm expecting that to change, and I'm expecting with experience, if they get back in that situation in the playoffs, they're going to know, the intensity, and they're going to know how to maneuver differently. So I have the Kings at number 9. At number 8, I have the Miami Heat. Now, the only reason I have the Miami Heat is out of respect for last year. I think that it was a tough offseason for the Miami Heat. I mean, you were in the running to get Bradley Beal. You didn't get him. You were in the running to get Damian Lillard. You obviously didn't get him. You lost Gabe Vincent. You lost Max Strus. It's tough. It is tough. Now, I understand that those are undrafted players, obviously, but as we saw last year, they were integral to the Heat's playoff run. So I'm only really giving it out of respect of them or what they did last year, and Jimmy Butler is still one of the best playoff players in basketball. You obviously have Bam Adebayo, who's one of the best young defending bigs in the league. I have the Heat at number 8. And you have arguably the best coach in basketball in Eric Spoelstra. So I have them at number 8. At number 7, I have the Clippers. Now, the Clippers can be higher than 7. They can be lower than 7. And the thing about the Clippers is honestly the health. When we look at just the grand scheme of basketball, and we look at the grand scheme of what the Western Conference looks like, the Clippers should be a top echelon team. It's just nobody is able to trust them right now because of their availability and because of their health. Is Kawhi Leonard going to play majority of the season? Is Paul George going to play majority of the season? We know we're going to get from Russell Westbrook, but are they going to be able to play long enough with each other, Pauls, to build chemistry? That's something that at this point we're banking on no, which is why I have them 7th, because as a team, they're better than 7. But I just don't anticipate health, which is unfortunate, but that is just the track record that we've seen from this team. So I have them at number 7. At number 6, I have the Golden State Warriors. Look, there is a lot. You still have Steph Curry. You still have Clay, and Clay is probably going to be playing for a contract. So you know how players get with that. You still have Draymond Green, even though he's out with an ankle sprain, he should be back. The thing that I don't like about Golden State, and the reason why I don't think that, I think that window is probably closed more than ever, or not more than ever, but I think that championship window is closed, at least right now, is because the issues that they have dealt with over the last few years, let me not say that because they did win in 2022, the issue that they dealt with last year is the same exact issues that they have going to this season, and that is size and height. Their tallest player is 6'10", and that is Dario Saric, I think. Like they don't have a big man like that. Now, I know they're expecting a lot of Jonathan Kuminga. They're expecting a lot from Kevon Looney, who is pretty much like one of the most slept-on players in basketball just because he does all the dirty work. But your biggest acquisition was getting Chris Paul, who is shorter than Steph Curry. Now, I guess you think it's going to be addition by subtraction because you get rid of Jordan Poole and, that energy in the locker room. But, when they played the Lakers in the playoffs, round 2, the size differential was massive. They could do nothing with Anthony Davis and LeBron James. So I don't now. Maybe if this team makes a move at the trade deadline, maybe, I guess, but I just don't see it. I don't see how this Warriors team that really pretty much due to size last year doomed them isn't that much bigger. They're not taller. So yeah, I have Golden State at 6. At 5, I have the Lakers. I'm still a little hesitant with the Lakers because they did make some moves. They got Gabe Vincent in the offseason. They got Cam Reddish. They got Taurean Prince. It really is solely based on Anthony Davis and LeBron James. I don't care who the hell you bring on this team. You need Anthony Davis and you need LeBron James. That is going to be the de facto. That is, at his height, Anthony Davis is one of the most unguardable players in basketball, and LeBron James, even though he is much older, I think he's the oldest player in the NBA currently. He's still LeBron James. Now, no, he's not Cleveland LeBron James dunking on everybody like on a regular basis, but he is one of the smartest players in basketball. So I just don't think you need, obviously, those two. And on top of that, their biggest issue last year was shooting. And I understand you hope Gabe Vincent is going to change that around. You hope Cam Reddish is going to change that around. You hope Taurean Prince, who has been relatively good catch and shoot player, you hope they turn that stat around. But they still didn't really get much shooting around them. I know you have D'Angelo Russell still there, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura. You're pretty much trying to run it back. But again, my issue is shooting wise, you need to get better at that. And on top of that, even with running it back and perfectly healthy, you couldn't beat the Nuggets. Like, you couldn't defend them to save your life. So we'll see. I have the Lakers at number 5. At number 4, I have the Suns. Now, this team was the biggest conversation, at least in my head, that I had. Because on paper, this is one of those on paper teams. On paper, the Suns are one of the best teams, obviously, in basketball. When you have KD, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal, that is a offensive trio that we haven't seen in a while, probably since KD, Steph, and Clay. Now, I know you get Nurkic. I know that they built out their bench. You know, you have Bol. You have some players that's going to be on the bench that's integral. I think you still have Terrence Jones, I believe. I could be wrong. My issue is defense. And what the Suns are going to have to do, and you even heard, KD say it, you heard Devin Booker say it, it's going to be hard to guard this team and stop them from scoring. And what I think this team is going to bait or bank on is that they can outscore you. The issue is, what if your shots aren't falling? I don't know if this team has the defensive wherewithal to stop a top team, or if a team is guarding them well where they're not hitting shots, are they able to lean on their defense? I don't believe that. And 3 teams above them can for sure do that. I think the Suns are good enough to win a championship. I think it's a very top-heavy team, obviously. But I also think that their defense is their biggest hindrance, and their defense is going to ultimately shine in big moments or rear its ugly head in big moments. We're just going to have to see, but that's why I have them at number 4. At number 3, I have the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics, boy, I don't think people understand how integral getting someone like a Drew Holiday is for this team, especially a team that took a step back last year in defense. You're getting one of the most underrated and one of the best on-ball defenders in basketball on your team, along with Jason Tatum, who can play really good defense and is freakishly athletic, along with Jaylen Brown, who can play defense. And you have Kristaps Porzingis. He's not really playing defense, but he can at least protect the rim a little bit. Losing someone like a Robert Williams and a Grant Williams and losing Marcus Smart is huge on the defensive side of the ball, but I just think they have enough talent around them that I would be shocked if this team is not in the at least Eastern Conference Finals. That's how good this Boston Celtics team is, at least on paper. But again, we know what these players are about. Health is a big thing as well, because we know Kristaps Porzingis kind of has a history of injury. We also know that Al Horford's getting older. So those are your bigs right there. But yeah, if everything goes the way that it's supposed to go and players play to their potential, it's going to be tough for me not to see the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I have them at number 3. At number 2, I have the Bucks. Look, losing Drew Holiday is big. Losing, even though I hate to say it, losing Grayson Allen is big, especially defensively. But you have Damian Lillard. You have Giannis Antetokounmpo. You have Chris Middleton. You have Brook Lopez. This team, even without Damian Lillard, this team was projected to make the championship last year. They ultimately lost to the Heat, but they were projected to make the championship team or make the NBA Finals last year. Now you add arguably one of the greatest point guards we have ever seen, or scoring point guards we have ever seen, alongside one of the greatest players we've ever seen. It would be a drastic, and I emphasize the word drastic, failure if this team, the Bucks, don't make it to the NBA Finals. I'm not saying they have to win, but if they don't make it to the NBA Finals, we're going to start looking at this team. We're going to start looking at individual players differently. I think we're going to start looking at Damian Lillard in a negative light more than a positive light, because that's kind of what has helped Damian Lillard for a while, and that is you're playing on a team that really doesn't have any championship aspirations or championship pedigree, because you're just not that good in the team. It's you and pretty much 4 other players that aren't that good. Now there is true championship caliber expectations for Damian Lillard, and if he's unable to reach that, we're really going to start looking at him differently. Damian or Giannis, this is what, 3 years in a row now. You ultimately don't even make it to the finals. Like, we're really going to be looking at, all right, how great is Giannis really? So I think that there's huge expectations for this team. That is because they have paired Giannis and Damian Lillard. So I have them at number 2. And at number 1, out of respect, I have the Denver Nuggets. Now, I'm not saying out of respect as far as like I'm just obligated to. They have arguably the best player in the world, and Nikola Jokic. They have arguably the best team. Like, when I mean team, I mean they have built one of the best, if not the best team in basketball, with Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I do think losing Bruce Brown is big, but you're hoping that Christian Brown and some of the younger players are able to help in that situation. So, and this team pretty much was dominant in the playoffs. There was not a moment in this playoffs where I thought that they were going to get upset. Not one. I know that I think Suns beat them twice, but that's about it. It is going to be the Denver Nuggets. Right now, they're the cream of the crop. They're the creme de la creme of the Western Conference, and they are my number 1 team in basketball right now until somebody proves me otherwise. So again, my top 10, I took the Mavericks out of 10 and put the 76ers. At 9, I have the Kings. At 8, I have the Heat. 7, the Clippers. 6, Golden State. 5, the Lakers. The Suns at number 4. 3, I have the Boston Celtics. At 2, I have the Milwaukee Bucks. And the 1, I have the Denver Nuggets. Oh, man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.